What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my teeny tiny channel. I'm going to try to keep this one short and sweet, to the point, and hopefully it's helpful. This video is about relays. Now, I've already tested mine and I know my relay is good, but I'm going to show you how to test a relay several different ways to see if it's actually good or if it's bad and needs to be replaced. This is the relay out of my Dodge Viper. I thought it was bad because I didn't think my fan was kicking on. Turns out it's actually just set to a higher temperature than what I thought it was, so it was never getting up there to kick on. So, crisis averted. So it's a pretty common, just a 5-pin relay. If you have a 4-pin, the only thing you're going to be missing is this center one. Not a big deal. So this is how it's set up. You've got pin 30 is always going to be your constant hot, which is basically power supplied from your battery. Goes to pin 30. So here's 30 on the bottom, 87 is on the top. 87 goes out to my fan. So when power comes in here and it's allowed to flow through and it hits pin 87, it continues on to my fan and kicks the fan on. So what these two pins over here are going to do, they're going to energize the coil inside and allow this power to travel through. All you're going to need is a 12-volt power source. This is just a battery out of my jet ski. You need a multimeter. I'm going to use a test light as well, and I'll show you in a minute why I prefer this over using my multimeter for one of the tests. One of the things I wanted to do in the car was test the wiring that goes into this relay where it plugs in. And to do that, I just took a little jumper wire. Some people say use a paper clip. That wasn't very helpful. I happen to have this laying around. If you want, make something like this and keep it in your toolbox. Just put an end on it like that. I didn't have one on here, but I'm going to add one. That way you can just literally plug it in and it matches that spade perfectly. And it'll plug into whatever connection you're testing. And you're going to jump from your pin 30, which is your main power, to pin 87, which sends that power on down the line. And when you plug this in and you jump it and you turn your ignition on or supply power to that 30, whatever's on the other end of that relay should kick on. There's my plug that was going into my relay, and my pin 30 is right here. My pin 87 is right there, and that's what I used this little jumper for. I plugged this into pin 30 and this into pin 87, and then I supplied power and my fan kicked on immediately. So the first test you want to do with your relay is test resistance. You're testing the ohms resistance between pin 86 and pin 85. And that's going to be this pin here and this pin over here. You should have between 50 and 120 ohms. So take your multimeter, turn it on, set it to ohms, this little thing right there. And then all you have to do is touch between these pins here, right there. And we are now reading 57.1 ohms. So we are within spec. Good. That's the first test, and that checks out. Second test, we're going to go back to our multimeter. Just go ahead and leave it on ohms again. And we're going to test continuity between pin 30 and 87. Okay. And we're going to go between pin 30 and pin 87. And we've got 0 reading. Perfect. That's what you want. Next, we're going to test the energized relay. And what we need to do is we're going to take our 12-volt power and we're going to hook it up between pin 86 and 85, the two on the side. And then I'm going to use my multimeter and we're going to turn it to continuity. And hopefully yours has the little beeper. Set it to that. You should hear, yeah. That's what we want to hear when we touch it.
That's what she said.
So I'm going to hook up power to these two pins. I'm going to run my power positive side. Doesn't really matter. You can run it to either side. I'm going to run negative over here with the blue wire. And when I touch this, you'll hear it click. So with my positive side coming in over here, this is going to be my negative, and these can be flipped if you want. Hear that click? That's what you want to hear. So the relay is going to be in the open position. There it is. It's clicked. It's in the open position. Now we're going to test continuity between 30 and 87. So 30, 87. That's what we want to hear. Perfect. So we know that test is good. For the last test, you're going to need one more jumper wire. The setup is pretty much the same. So you're going to test voltage once this relay is in the open position. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take another jumper wire and I'm going to put it on my positive side of my battery. And all I'm doing is taking and putting power down to pin number 30. So now I have power coming in to this side to pin 85. I have power also coming into pin 30. My negative is hooked over here to 86. Now what I'm going to do is measure voltage on this empty pin up here. So I know this battery is about 12 volts. So when I read this pin, I should have right around 12 volts. The reason I'm using this test light is because mine actually has a little screen on it and it's going to tell me exactly how many volts. So here we go, 11.9 volts. Perfect. That just about matches my battery, and that's what we want to see. So that's the last test. I know that this relay is good and I can put it back in the car. Hopefully that was pretty easy to understand. I'm going to link an article that I found on the interwebs that was very, very helpful, and it will walk you through all of these steps if you want to read it. The last step that I showed you, I kind of had to figure out what they were doing because they didn't exactly explain it, but after looking at the pictures, I figured out, oh, they've got another wire coming in from the same battery source to power it. Duh. Anyway, hopefully that helps you guys out in testing relays. Best of luck. Get out there, wrench on some stuff. Thanks so much for watching. Stay hungry, stay foolish.